welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be removing a rotten pseudobulb from Mr. Twinkle here. So I was ordering my Oncidium Twinkle this morning and I noticed these yellowing leaves, which you can see have detached themselves very easily, but they were attached to this rotten pseudobulb, which is very loose and very mushy, as you can see. So it's important to remove these rotten pseudobulbs because there is a risk of them infecting the rest of the plant and it can result in the death of the plant. Now I can see that the pseudobulb that it's attached to is very healthy at the moment, so I don't think there's any spread at the moment. I can tell because the pseudobulb's nice and plump and also because the leaves look good. When pseudobulbs are rotting, the leaves tend to yellow. So if you're noticing a lot of yellowing leaves on your plant, then you may want to check the base of the plant, check the base of the pseudobulb and make sure that it's not rotting. So don't mind Mr. Twinkle shedding everywhere, he's losing some of the flowers at the moment. But what you'll need is some gloves, and I highly recommend you wear gloves when you're working with any sort of rot. If you've ever smelt a rotten pseudobulb or one's accidentally exploded on you when you've squeezed it, you will know how terrible whatever's inside smells. And so that can only mean that there's badness inside, and it's usually bacterial and other sort of, very unhygienic things. So if you're using bare hands, your hands will smell terrible for quite some time. It's quite difficult to get off actually, and I learned the hard way. But also you certainly don't want any of that liquid that comes out of it to spread to any of your surfaces. And I've also got a couple of tools here which I may or may not need, but I've just got my scissors and pliers here. I've already cleaned them with some rubbing alcohol, and I just actually use these wipes sometimes that you can get from the chemist. But I sterilize my tools after I use them, so I'm pretty sure that they're clean, but I always give them a little once over before I work with them as well. So they're clean. And we'll begin. So there are a couple of ways to remove rotten pseudobulbs, and if they're still fairly plump and intact and don't look like they're going to rupture at any moment, sometimes you can twist it at the base. Now if at any stage while you're doing this it feels like the pseudobulb's going to break, then I would stop and I would actually cut at the base. And I'm going to try and twist this pseudobulb off. So no, I think the pseudobulb's too soft and it's not going to let me do that. So what I'm actually going to do is cut the pseudobulb at the base. Now you want to try and get right at the base, and you want to try and cut it off the rhizome. You don't necessarily want to cut the rhizome. So for this plant it doesn't matter so much because there's nothing beyond this pseudobulb behind it. But for example, if you have a rotten pseudobulb and it's attached to a rhizome and on either side there is more plant, so if there's pseudobulbs on either side, then if you cut the rhizome you're going to essentially be splitting your plant, so you have to be very careful. So I'm just going to carefully cut that off. So you can see it's cut off at the base there, and it's a brown mushy thing there, so we don't want to keep that. I'm going to chuck it in the bin. So one thing I will mention is that the reason I probably got this rotten pseudobulb is because I've got quite wet medium. So I've got a good lot of sphagnum in this medium, and I actually put this plant inside so I could enjoy the flowers. So inside, where it's situated, it doesn't get a lot of airflow, and I suppose that since it was also winter, it just stayed a little bit too cold and wet for a little bit too long. So I'm pretty sure that's why it developed some rot on that bulb. Okay, so now that pseudobulb's gone, we're going to have a look at the base of where that pseudobulb came off. And we're going to help seal that wound with some cinnamon. So I've got a little bowl of cinnamon powder here. It has very good drying properties. So it actually seals the wounds by extracting all the moisture from any surface that it touches. And a dry surface means that bacteria can't really grow on it. And so just by way of dehydration, the cinnamon transfers some sort of antibacterial, fungicidal properties. And it's not just like this natural wishy-washy business. If you Google or YouTube the cinnamon challenge, it's actually like a little prank, I guess, that went around a few years ago where people dared others to swallow a spoonful of cinnamon, like a teaspoon of cinnamon, and the results, they're pretty funny. So basically, as soon as you put the cinnamon in your mouth, not even swallow it, it dehydrates your entire mouth, and it's just really difficult for people to tolerate. So yes, I wouldn't recommend doing it yourself, but you know, check out the videos. So we're just going to grab a little pinch of cinnamon, and we're going to put it quite precisely onto the surface that you want to seal. And then once it's on there, just dab it so you know you don't have dry powder everywhere, and dab it into the surface and try and cover it completely. Be careful not to get the cinnamon all through the medium or into the root system. It will dry out the roots if it touches it. And that's that. So I've sealed the bottom of that with some cinnamon, you can see there. Okay, and I'm just going to leave that exposed for a couple of days and let that dry out, and then I'll fill it back up with some medium. And that should do the trick. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.